Hello, G Plus friends and YouTube viewers. You're joined by the regular Snark Alley crew, but we're doing something very different tonight. We're giving you the first ever, I guess it's unofficial, unofficial or official, unofficial after show for the assistant. I'm sure there's going to be other after shows popping up any day now, copying what we do, but for now, we're the first ones here with Talking Assistant. And joining me, as always, or for the first time, since this is something completely different, Tony Solo.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Solo on Twitter. And also joining us tonight is the Kelly, Mr. Kelly Tool. Hey, Kel.
Hey Tony, hey Mike. It's Kelly
Hey,
Tool at
Kelly.
LOYTHUL on Twitter.
So Chris, go ahead.
So, all right, I'll get this thing started. So, for any of you guys who don't know, our friend Dylan Lang, the host of Dylan Knows, has a brand new web show called The Assistant. Well, how many episodes are we in now? 6 episodes?
Six.
So we're 6 episodes in, but it's still relatively new. And we thought that this was a good time to sort of explore our take on what he's doing and some of the themes. And Kelly knows more about Doctor Who, so tell me if this is an accurate representation or summary of the show, what I'm about to say here. It's sort of a psychological cinema verite character study that's inspired by themes from Doctor Who.
So I don't know what cinema verite is, so I'll go sure.
No, that part I'm 100% sure of.
Okay, good. Well, as long as if you're good on
The
that.
rest of it, though, does the rest of it seem accurate to you as our resident expert?
Yeah. So let's put a little qualifier on that for any folks that are listening in terms of a true Doctor Who knowledge in the continuum. I would view myself as having a second grade level of education on Doctor Who, and benefiting that they're grading on a curve in second grade. So just to kind of, I don't want to oversell my Doctor Who knowledge, but I have a working knowledge of a few elements of it. But I do believe your depiction, based on my understanding, second grade needing a curve understanding of Doctor Who, I do believe what you depicted is accurate.
And up until the other day, I thought Doctor Who was a character in a Dr. Seuss book. So that's what my education is as far as Doctor Who goes.
Now, I had previously seen a couple episodes of, and forgive me, Doctor Who fans, I know you call them by their names and numbers, some old black and white episodes of Doctor Who. I don't know what Doctor, I don't know what the universe was at that time within this vast franchise that is Doctor Who. But I have seen Revenge of the Daleks, the porn that was made inspired by Doctor Who. So I feel like, I gained some knowledge from that, and I'm not sure how deeply into that area, the pornography element, Dylan's going to dwell. So I'm pretty sure it doesn't help me, though, with the assistant.
I did not know there was Doctor Who porn. Now I'm interested.
All right, you should be interested because the Daleks they use in it were actual Daleks used in the Doctor Who series.
Okay. So, was it like a whole bunch of well-endowed ladies running around in those, silver jumpsuits like they used to have in Lost in Space?
Well, I don't want to give anything away. The whole thing that really pulls pornography together is the storyline. So,
yeah, porn plot spoiler. That's kind of hard to say that 5 times.
no porn spoilers on Talking Assistant. But let's get into Dylan's show a little bit. Let's get into the assistant. Now, the first thing I found out about this project through Tony. So, Tony, why don't you tell us how Dylan initially told you? Did you know in advance he was doing this? Did you not know until he sent you a link to the video?
No, actually, I had sent Dylan an email on something else. And he said, hey, I'm interested in doing something, and he wasn't very specific, and he never said when he was going to start doing it. And so I guess it was a Sunday, and I was going through YouTube because I was going to download one of an older Snark Alec radio show and buzz through it to see if there was any audio bites I could pull out of it. And I saw this assistant thing from Dylan, and I think the first one's only about 4 minutes or so. And actually, it's in. If you're watching the video, once this gets posted to YouTube, you should be able to see the link to the assistant episode 1. And I watched it, and I was like, what the fuck is this? But there was 2 episodes, so I watched that, and I was intrigued enough by the first one to watch the second one. And so apparently Dylan is filming this all with his iPhone, and it has a very Blair Witch feel about it, almost like someone who is recording an audio video diary of what's going on around them. And I was like, crap, I really want to see more, and I want to have your impressions before we go on to my favorite episode so far, which is the TARDIS episode. Or no, that's the second one, which is the TARDIS episode. Kelly?
So I hadn't really thought about it as far as a similar and production approach to Blair Witch, but now that you mention it, I see that kind of almost like a Blair Witch meets Selfie combination in terms of the filming. Because Dylan,
I really think that you're really on to something there. I do think that this show really taps into the selfie culture that has sprung up around us recently.
Yeah. Well, it definitely has a very intimate feel to it because I was thinking Blair Witch as, first person shooter almost. But now that Kelly brings up selfie, it's like, yeah. Would this be called a swoovie because it was a selfie movie? Or maybe we can come up with a better term. Not a Melfi, because there's Melfis out there already.
No problem. I think swoovie's shot in swoovie vision, maybe, or something.
Yes, swoovie vision. So what were your thoughts, Mike, on episode number 1?
So I knew from some of the terminology that he was using that this was somehow related to the Doctor Who multiverse. What I like, though, for me personally, is that I don't watch Doctor Who, because that gives me a completely different outlook and appreciation of this show, and that's why I strongly recommend it to people, even those who don't watch Doctor Who. Because after watching the first episode, and of course I immediately jumped to the second because there was 2 up there, for me there's 2 possibilities in this world, and in the world of the assistant. And the first is that Dylan is practicing very seriously and strictly practicing transcendental meditation, and he's actually moved to a higher plane of consciousness, and now from that higher plane of consciousness is reevaluating everything around him and seeing everything in a completely different way. And being such a strong fan of the Doctor Who franchise, he's sort of looking at it through the eyes of a Doctor Who-esque character, or he took a bunch of mushrooms and is just tripping balls.
I can't wait to find out what the windup is, because it could almost be as if, if you use the tripping balls scenario where, Dylan was at a baseball game and he got hit in the head with a baseball, and right now he's in that dream, and at the end of it, and I hope this is not it, because that would really suck, because I just gave it away. But, like at the end of this, Dylan wakes up and says, it ends where he started, on the grass, and he's got a baseball in his hand. He's like, I just got hit by a baseball. But and now that I said that, oh man, I hope I didn't screw it up. But I mean, I have no foreknowledge of what's going on. But I did allude to a TARDIS, because now, again, I'll agree with Mike. I have really no Doctor Who background. I know Doctor Who references. And I am glad I know nothing about Doctor Who, because basically, what Dylan has done so far is he's laying out a whole bunch of questions that he needs to get answered about what his situation is. Um, he seems to have his memories, but he's got these other memories coming back into his head, and he doesn't know if they're real, and he's having a problem, going forward, and that's the theme so far of integrating those memories that he's getting back or receiving with who he is now, and he's having some difficulty. So, but I really want to talk about my favorite episode, which is number 2, and only because I just think it would be funny. It's the TARDIS episode, and I don't want to give too much away, but Dylan is looking for his TARDIS, and one of the things that could possibly be it is a smart car. And I'm going to give away a spoiler, guys. We spoke to Dawn about this last week, and I asked her because it turns out that that's one of the neighbors' cars, and I asked Dawn if they were, they knew those people well, because I just think it would be so funny for 6'5" Dylan, and he is really 6'5" Dylan, to try and squeeze into a smart car. I think that would be just really awesome. But that's just, Dylan's sitting there and he's got his knees up to his nose. But that's just a funny picture I'd like to see.
I completely agree. And to be honest with you, I think it's funny to watch any human squeeze into a smart car. I am not abnormally tall like Dylan apparently is, and there is someone in my neighborhood with a smart car, and when I walk by it, it maybe comes up to my waist. The roof of the car.
Yeah, but this is one of the places where, as Dylan's kind of locking in some of the overall Doctor Who construct, this is a core one here, which is the thing that everybody's kind of amazed about the TARDIS, which in Doctor Who, the Doctor Who character uses a TARDIS that looks like a police call box from London, a blue police call box. When you step into that call box, it is a multi-room, incredibly large thing. So it's bigger on the inside than it looks on the outside, and that's kind of an ongoing. Almost anybody that steps in the TARDIS notices that, and the Doctor kind of explains it, and sometimes says like, okay, you see that house, like if you'd be standing, if you stood. Let's say you stood 30 feet away from the smart car and you put your thumb up to cover it up, in front of your eyes.
Forced perspective.
Yeah, he says that's the basic concept. That's how a TARDIS works. It's how it's much bigger on the inside. So I don't know how Dylan will pull off the special effect regarding entry into the smart, but actually while the entry point would look a little humorous, he should have plenty of room if indeed that smart car is his TARDIS, because it'll be much larger on the inside than it is on the outside.
Yeah, and I think that's something I did know about Doctor Who, that you walk in and it's like it's giant size, but he should get something even smaller than a smart car. I'm thinking, like a thimble.
Well, that was I don't know how we're working our way through how we want to appropriately do a talking assistant in terms of, but I do think one of the things that's non-spoiler is should we be trying to guess what your leading candidate is for what is Dylan's TARDIS. Is it the smart car? Is it some of those things? So I don't know if either of you have I think we're all rooting for the smart car because it'll be interesting.
You want to know something? I think it's going to be something mundane like a minivan. And besides, I know he has a minivan. But then again, maybe it is his TARDIS. And maybe it's not.
Yeah. I don't know if his kids have any, of the pop-up tent playthings, but I think that could be another really good candidate if that's
or one of those yard things that are made out of plastic that looks like a little house, but it's got a little door that you can get inside.
That could work. Yeah, and then when he goes in, it's going to be huge. Yeah, so that's one of the things we'll look forward to. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah, dude, my daughter had one of those little houses. We ended up giving it away once they both got a little bit bigger, but there was a couple of times when I had to squeeze into that sucker because I had I was playing with her and she's like, "Daddy, come inside," because it had like a little table with a little chair, and I had to go in there, and it was a good thing that you could prop up the roof a little bit because I couldn't fit in there. But yeah, that would be cool. Mike, your impression of
as much as I think the smart car would be really funny, I feel like maybe he's moved away from the smart car a little bit, and he does in the last episode of the show. He talked in the paranoia episode. Was that the last one, or was it the
Paranoia was either 5 or 6.
So one of the last
episode-
two episodes, he talks about a abandoned or foreclosed upon house on his block.
Well,
And
that was
how that-
actually that was number 3. Was that Intruder? Oh no, that was Intruder was in the house, and then it was the cat. So Paranoia is number 6, yes, and that's the one where there's the foreclosed house, and I don't want to cut you off, Mike, but let's see if we can only go a couple more minutes on this because we don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, we don't want to give too much away, and also I think obviously this is something that we could talk about at great length. So there's going to have to be multiple episodes of Talking Assistant.
Absolutely.
And so here goes the basic elements. We have to find out what's going on with Dylan. His cat is involved.
His children may be involved.
Yeah, but are they his kids? They might be his kids.
Well, he says that he's sure they're his kids, but they're also something else.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we should ask Dawn if they're really his kids because she's the only one that really knows if they're his kids. But that's okay.
We'll have
okay,
we have to unwind
I'm-
reality from.
okay, reality. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. I shouldn't. I tried to. Make it.
Isn't this part of the show though? Is Dylan questioning his reality?
That's why you got layers here, man. That's why it's fun to watch because you've got a reality storyline, and so we don't know. We also don't know if his daughter is a weeping angel or potentially an evil Statue of Liberty.
Which I'm definitely really interested. Is that foreshadowing of a government conspiracy plot line to come later?
It
I
could
hadn't
be.
thought of that.
It could be.
Well, I think in sticking with Tony said, maybe we should wrap this up right around here. But really quickly, just as a little sign off, if you were to have a TARDIS, each of you, what would your TARDIS be?
That would be a difficult question to answer. You see okay, so let me ask Kelly a question about the TARDIS real quick. I'm guessing the TARDIS is not mobile in the sense where, like, if it's on First and Main Street, it's going to stay in First and Main Street until we move on, and then it will go someplace else. But it's not something that can move around, is it?
Well, I mean, yeah. It's somewhat like you program coordinates, and you can go through time.
Right.
And so depending where you come through time and you land, so you might just go back 5 minutes, but to a different spot down the street,
Right.
and those types of things. So I guess you'd call it doesn't have locomotion per se,
Right.
but it does the time jump type.
Right, and you can and it's mobile in the sense where you could say, okay, come back over here. Okay. What would my TARDIS be? You want to know something? I'd go old school, and I'd want my TARDIS to look like an old school telephone booth, with the accordion type door, the Superman type of Clark Kent Superman telephone booth.
I'm gonna go with Charo.
Charo and not Shakira.
Charo is
Okay,
my
Charo's
TARDIS.
like 70. She's like 75, dude.
Again,
So are you
I'm
saying
right.
that Charo is bigger on the inside than she appears on the outside?
well, again, if we're allowed to kind of apply the construct, one we could go back to. I don't know if Charo was ever like hot. I don't really know what you describe Charo as, but it's a Time Lord thing, so you could go back a little bit. So she wasn't 70, but I hadn't thought about it, and Charo was the first thing that came into my mind. So
It was funny.
stick with Charo.
So really what you're saying is you were already thinking of Charo.
I had not been thinking about Charo, but I began to think about Charo when
Okay.
the TARDIS question came up, which I
You
can't.
weren't thinking about Charo like Tony uses his daughter as a blame for all these things, like him having a princess house.
Yeah. Something like that. Hey, Mike, what would your TARDIS be?
That's actually kind of an easy one for me. It would be my liquor cabinet. It's where I keep my alcohol and my drugs. And in sticking with the not knowing, I mean, drugs, don't do that, kids. That's bad. And alcohol only when you're 21. That was a joke. Police who are watching. Um,
As they always do.
as them and the Pope frequently watch our stuff. Uh, so I feel like the tripping balls thing might be a part of this, and also the reaching a different plane of understanding, and I think that all those things are possibly related. So
If you'd use your liquor cabinet, then I think you'd probably be Doctor. Who the hell are you looking at? So,
Okay, so
I like that.
just to wrap this thing up, new episodes usually come out Sunday. Sometimes they don't hit YouTube until Monday. There are 6 episodes out there now. We encourage you to watch them. They're maximum 4 to about 3 minutes long. So you're talking about right now there's less than a half an hour's worth of material. Get caught up and then keep track of The Assistant. And maybe next week we'll do this again. If not, maybe it'll be 2 weeks. We don't know. And we'll see you back here on YouTube. So, any final thoughts, Mike, before we wrap this up?
Dylan needs to figure out how to get us an appearance on The Assistant.
Wait, hold on. I think Dylan needs to figure out how to get Mike on. Because I don't know.
I figured, we're a team. You guys are coming with me, right?
what do you think? I think let's start small. Let's start with Mike. We'll just go.
Yeah.
But I am all for that. And depending where Dylan's going with this, there's a major protagonist that the Time Lords have had to deal with over time, and so that might be an interesting role for Mike, but I wouldn't pretend to figure out where he best fits in the story arc. But there'd be a couple interesting things. And I do think Mike would make a heck of a Dalek. So that's just something else.
Well, after seeing Revenge of the Daleks, I would like to say thank you, Kelly.
I don't have that point of reference, but from the Doctor Who show Daleks, I think you'd be a good one.
All right, folks. So, having said that, catch The Assistant on YouTube, and we'll see you next week. Good night.
Night.